At the end of November 2019, I contracted the new coronavirus. At that time, I decided to seek treatment at the nearest hospital to my home, but my doctor told me that the hospital could no longer receive more patients due to the outbreak. This frustrated me because I knew that the neo-coronavirus could pose a serious threat to my health. Hospitals have always been a place I hated, and I felt uncomfortable with the environment and medical procedures there. I chose to stay home. I also purchased some over-the-counter medications in hopes of relieving some of my symptoms and regaining my health. At home, I was isolated in my own room. My family would provide me with food on time to help me stay rested and nourished. After a week, I felt weaker and weaker, and my breathing difficulties became worse. I finally couldn't hold on anymore, and my family decided to take me to the hospital. Accompanied by my family, I was rushed to the hospital. Upon entering the hospital, the doctor tested me and the results came back positive. The doctors decided to take measures to ensure my respiratory function. They put me on a respirator, which would help maintain my normal breathing. As a result of the disease and the medication, my consciousness began to fade and my body felt very weak. Over the next few days, my memory became confused and fuzzy. Although my memory is fuzzy, I know that the medical staff was working hard to provide me with treatment during this time, and they kept adjusting the respirator settings to make sure I was getting an adequate supply of oxygen. One night in the middle of the night, when I woke up, I found myself floating above my own body. Like a bystander, I could clearly see the doctors and nurses rushing into my room as they seemed to be administering emergency treatment to me. This state made me feel excited and curious. I began to explore my surroundings and I was free to move around the room. The doctors were performing various first aid measures on me to try to save my life. I did not feel scared or nervous. Instead, I enjoyed the sense of freedom and I decided to use this opportunity to look around. I observed the various activities going on in the hospital. I saw patients in other wards, some receiving treatment and some interacting with their families. I also saw doctors and nurses busy in different areas. Some were checking reports and others were performing surgeries. As I was preparing to leave the hospital, I suddenly noticed the presence of a man. He gave off a dazzling white glow and looked as if he was made of light. This sight surprised me because I had never experienced anything like it before. Although I did not have any religious beliefs before, I now felt a mysterious presence. People often say that after death we will see what we long to see. But for me, this statement did not apply, because all I expected was to rest permanently and end everything for me completely. I decided to communicate with him. I asked him, "Who are you?" He smiled and replied, "My name is not important, you can consider me as your guide. I can give you some help and guidance until you return to your body." Although I was confused about his identity, I decided to accept his help and guidance. He seemed to possess a wisdom and power that could guide me in the right direction and help me better understand myself and the world. He suddenly placed a hand on my shoulder. Under his guidance, we began to rise in a straight line along the ceiling. This state of movement did not give me any sense of fear, as if fear did not exist in this world. We ascended very quickly and soon we were out of the hospital. As we continued our ascent, we left the Earth's atmosphere. I could see the stars shining around us. I suddenly asked if I could visit the moon. He smiled and replied, "Of course you can." So we moved toward the moon at a very fast pace. I saw the gray surface of the moon, the craters and mountains. I felt the serenity and mystery of the moon, which is completely different from the sight of the earth. I gazed at this ancient and beautiful planet. I gazed at the mountains on the moon, which seemed more prominent than those on Earth. Their outlines were clearly visible. These mountains may have been formed by an impact event, and they give the moon its unique geomorphic features. I then asked him what else you could do as my guide. He gently replied that, within reason, I could answer some questions and provide some guidance. I can also take you to other places, but there are some places I can't take you to, like heaven and hell. Because you are now only a visitor, you are not allowed to enter unless accompanied by someone greater than me. Hearing his answer, I felt both excited and curious. I began to think about the things and areas I wanted to learn about, hoping to get more answers from him. I asked a lot of questions. Who are the people greater than you? Is there life in other galaxies? Is God real? He laughed out loud and then began to answer. Greater than I am the Creator and those He has entrusted to me. I can't heal your body. But they can. I can't show you the future, but they can. I can't open the gates of heaven, but they can. I was shocked by his answer. Then, he answered my second question. The number of planets is close to infinity. For some strange reason, many humans think they are the smartest and most advanced, when in fact they are not. Life had flourished throughout the universe for centuries before man was created. Then he answered the question about whether God is real. The great Creator is real. And many people in your world call him God. Mankind often does things that hurt each other, which grieves the Creator very much. He has reminded you countless times to love one another, but most people still refuse to listen. I was so ashamed to hear his words, because I too had acted in my life in a way that hurt others. When I asked him if I could visit another living planet, he replied, "Sure, let's go." He once again put his hand on my shoulder. And we left the moon and began to move toward our destination. Another planet gradually appeared in front of us. I could see that this planet had a circular protective shield on the outside, as if it were a barrier, protecting the planet. Just when I felt like I was about to hit the protective shield, we surprisingly went right through it. We landed in a beautiful park. All around us were very tall people with very fair skin that gave off a distinctive glow. These people were the inhabitants of the planet and they looked different from us. I saw small transports going through the air. The shapes of these transports were so peculiar that I could not accurately describe whether they were airplanes or cars. They seemed to be a form of transportation that combined the characteristics of both. I was also fascinated by the architecture on this planet. They are completely different from the buildings on Earth. Each made of various colors of glass or crystal. Amazingly, the color of these buildings changes every few minutes. When I tried to talk to the residents here, my guide told me that they could not see me. He explained that this was a protective measure to prevent interspecies knowledge pollution. Although I didn't quite understand his words, I understood that the Creator had his own reasons for not wanting us to have direct communication. I gazed at my guide and asked, full of doubts, if there were other planets like this one. He replied in the affirmative, yes, there are many. As I said before, there are more than you can count. The guide went on to say, I can take you to another planet, and then I have to bring you back to Earth. When we arrived at the other planet, I saw a wide river. Next to the river were 3 tall pyramids. Curious, I asked my guide if we were in Egypt. His answer surprised me, no, we are not on Earth. These pyramids are older than the pyramids on Earth and they come from the same builders. I was shocked to hear his answer. It was amazing that these pyramids were older than the ones on Earth, and that they were built by the same builders. I was curious to ask, aren't they not able to communicate with each other? Why could they build pyramids on Earth? He explained to me that there was a time when many different species were allowed to visit the Earth. However, the Creator later realized that this had a negative impact on the natural development of mankind and therefore established the present rules. The wizard told me that the Creator considered mankind to be his proudest masterpiece and also his greatest mistake. Although the Creator has infinite patience, there are limits. He has cleaned out a portion of the earth to restore balance. He may also take similar action again in the future. I was shocked and disturbed to hear these words. It made me realize that the actions of humans on Earth can have far-reaching effects on our entire planet. As I prepared to continue asking more questions, my guide placed his hand on my shoulder. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in a hospital bed. The doctor came up to me and said, "Welcome back." I noticed that the respirator had been removed. The doctor told me that I had had an allergic reaction to the intravenous medication, which, combined with my pneumonia, had complicated my breathing problems. In effect, I had experienced death. I was clinically dead for more than 3 minutes. The news left me with mixed emotions. For days later, I left the hospital. This experience completely changed my beliefs. I am now convinced that there is a creator of the universe who is the creator and ruler of everything. He has wisdom and power beyond our imagination. This experience also made me understand that we are not alone and that we are not the only intelligent beings. There are numerous species and civilizations in the universe. We are not the center of the universe, but one of its components. More importantly, I learned the importance of loving each other. If we cannot learn how to live in peace and respect each other, we may face the fate of being cleansed. The Creator has the power to start over, and we must be aware of our responsibility and mission. This experience has inspired me to become a positive person. This experience has given me important lessons and insights. It will forever be engraved in my heart and influence every choice and action I make in life.
This experience happened in April 2011. At that time, I was working in a sales executive position in my company. Our company was mainly dealing with fitness equipment. We were experiencing a serious decline in performance, which added to the pressure on me. As a sales executive, I had more responsibility. I needed to make sure that the members of the sales team were motivated. Due to increased competition in the market and changes in consumer buying preferences, our sales volume dropped dramatically. This posed a challenge to our company. This state of work began to affect the quality of my sleep. I often lost sleep at night and lay in bed repeatedly thinking about how to improve my performance. At the same time, I also had doubts about my own abilities. I reflected on my decisions and actions and worried about my ability to perform in this position. I decided to go to the hospital in hopes of alleviating my anxiety and insomnia. After listening to my symptoms, my doctor prescribed me some mood-stabilizing medication. I told the doctor, I occasionally have allergic reactions to medications. He laughed and said that the dose I was taking was so small that there could not be any side effects. The doctor told me to take the medication regularly every day. When I got home, I took my medications every day as the doctor had asked me to, hoping that they would help me. Over the next few days, I took 3 tablets of the medication on time every day, as my doctor had recommended. On the 3rd day, I had some stomach discomfort and I felt a little tired and sluggish. That night, I was getting ready to go to bed. Within 10 minutes, I started to feel some difficulty in breathing. I felt like something was blocking my nose and I couldn't open my mouth. The difficulty in breathing made me feel very panicky and uncomfortable. I realized that I had a serious problem with my airway and it was getting worse. I tried to cough hard but to no avail. I started to experience dizziness. Suddenly, all my discomfort disappeared. I appeared in another place, and many spirits appeared around me. We walked together toward a large door. The gate was tall and stately, made of a softly glowing golden material. The door was carved with intricate and beautiful designs. I saw many others lined up behind me, ready to enter that gate. After entering the gate, I entered a reception room. The reception room had no ceiling. The room was softly lit and warm. I noticed that this reception room did not have fixed walls, but was made of cloud-like substances. These clouds emitted white light. They formed various shapes of chairs. I chose a chair and sat down. It was soft and comfortable, as if it had merged into my body. Sitting on it, I felt a feeling of lightness. This reception room was a place for souls to connect and communicate with each other without the constraints of time and space. I noticed 2 boys walking in. When I first saw them, I suddenly knew the cause of their death. They had lost their lives because of a serious car accident. In this place, everyone is no longer distinguished by appearance and wealth, everyone is equal. Here, no one is labeled as a good or bad person, and there is no difference between rich and poor. Everyone is gathered in this place. I began to connect with other souls and share each other's stories and feelings. Even though we come from different backgrounds and lives, we can all get along as equals here. In communicating with other souls, I began to reflect on my own actions and choices in life. In this waiting room, I felt a wisdom and tolerance that transcended the boundaries of reality. A young lady came up to us with beautiful eyes. She sang a moving song and her voice was very infectious. The song expressed a deep emotion that made me feel inner peace. After a while, we gathered in a larger, brighter room. Everyone was talking and getting to know each other. The scene reminded me of the atmosphere in the high school cafeteria. I saw a man appear in the room. He exuded a unique aura. I could feel his wisdom, as if he was our teacher or guide. This man helped us to better understand and explore this new world. He shared wisdom about life. His words exude a gentle power. In my encounter with this man, I learned more about my own heart and potential. He reminded me that the true meaning of life is to connect with others and to bring joy and help to others. In talking with him alone, I learned that he was once a pastor. He died in a car accident. When I was with him, his humility spoke to me deeply. He explained to me that many people had come here because of suicide or accidental death. His explanation confused me. He went on to explain to me that in this world, all kinds of behaviors that could lead to death are considered suicide. Such actions could be drug use, drunk driving, all considered suicides, to some extent. This does not mean that these people will be punished or condemned. Here they are accepted and understood. This made me start thinking about the meaning of life and death. Here we are given a more tolerant and compassionate perspective and are able to better understand the pain that each person is experiencing. Here, no one is blamed because everyone has their own story and distress. It made me realize that in the real world, we should also be more tolerant and caring of others. Reaching out to those in distress can help them get rid of suicidal thoughts and give them new hope. My mentor told me that his mission is to help this group of people find their way in life again. Some people must prove their inner strength by going through hardships. These experiences temper them and make them stronger. There are people who are born experiencing hunger and disease. They struggle with suffering all their lives until the day they pass away. These people will receive what they deserve after they die. During my interaction with my mentor, he reviewed my life. I realized that I had hurt many people with my past actions. At work, I often lost my temper with my subordinates and did not have a forgiving heart toward others. My biggest problem is my inability to forgive others for their faults. I can feel the feelings of people around me. Every little action I take has an impact on the people around me. Every action I take. God is watching at all times. I recognize the importance of forgiveness. Finally, my mentor reminded me that now was the time to make a choice. He did not force me to have to return to Earth. I gazed at him with an inner conflict. With tears in my eyes, I told him that I did not want to go back to Earth. My mentor listened carefully to my confession and then told me that if I could accept what happened next, I could choose to stay here. I looked to my right and saw the scene below. My mother was sitting on the edge of her bed in the bedroom. Her expression was full of frustration and helplessness. Her body was becoming weaker and weaker, and she seemed to be in great pain. She didn't have the energy she used to have. There was a heavy atmosphere in the air. Her face was pale. This scene made me feel painful. I wanted to comfort and help her. I longed to be able to bear part of her pain and give her warmth and comfort. This scene touched the softest part of my heart. I cried and said, "Will you come back with me? I want you to be by my side to give me guidance." The mentor replied, "I cannot be with you all the time, but God's love will always be by your side." His answer gave me relief. I decided to return to Earth and continue my journey in life. I thanked my mentor for the teachings he gave me. With determination and hope, I was ready to return to the real world and try to become a kinder person. The light around me started to become blurred. I felt a strong current pass through my body, and then I began to descend rapidly. When I got back to my room, I tried many times, but could not get back into my body. This feeling of separation made me feel very uneasy. My husband was sleeping next to me, and I was able to see him clearly. I tried to reconnect with my body, but no matter how hard I tried, I could not succeed. I tried to wake my husband, hoping he would help me. I clung to his shoulders, but he seemed unaware of my presence. I didn't know how to solve this problem. And my mood became more and more desperate. At that moment, my mentor appeared in the room. He told me that the entrance was between my two eyes. Although I didn't understand the reason for this, I kept trying. Eventually, I managed to get back into my own body. When I woke up, I took a deep breath. My husband woke up with a start at the sound, and he asked me what had happened. Although my eyes were still tightly closed, I could see the look of horror on his face. He called out my name and shook my body in an attempt to wake me up. In the process, I felt an electric current begin to move through my skin. I could feel the presence of my body, and my eyes slowly opened. I saw my husband watching me, his expression full of concern and surprise. After a few minutes, my husband was ready to call the emergency services. I stopped him and told him I felt fine now and didn't need help. I just wanted to sit down and rest for a while. He helped me to the couch and poured me a glass of water. Although I wanted to tell him what I had just been through, I couldn't find the right words to express it. The next morning, I woke up feeling full of energy and vitality in my body. This experience made me re-examine the meaning and purpose of my life. I began to appreciate each day and to be grateful for every good moment in my life. I decided to treat others in a more forgiving and kind way. I learned the power of forgiveness, which can not only help others but also liberate myself. We all experience different challenges and trials, and these experiences shape the trajectory of our unique lives. A year later, I shared a part of my experience with my husband. Although he couldn't fully understand what I was going through, his understanding of me made me feel overwhelmed with happiness and warmth.